Hey, Carm Capriato here, and welcome to another special interview from AAPEX 2018. I'm with Mark Bogdansky and Chris Gardner, who talk the power and value that is AAPEX. Mark and Chris lead an extraordinary team that helped make AAPEX what it is today. Here's a taste.
The logistical challenge this year was we lost our outdoor space, so we had to bring it inside, and it became Mobility Garage. And, finding that next thing. So Mobility Garage, where we're doing our underhood training, where we're doing training on alternative vehicles and alternative fuel vehicles, hybrids, electric cars, hydrogen-powered vehicles. We feel it's really important that technicians start learning on these vehicles, because if you can't work on a hybrid car, if you can't work on an electric vehicle car, you're going to be out of business soon. And we want to make sure that, people aren't just going back to the dealers to work on these cars. We want them going to their local garages working on these cars.
Welcome, Aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Hi, Carm Capriato here, and in a few moments, Mark Bogdansky, who is the Senior Director of Meetings and Events at Auto Care Association, joins Chris Gardner, MAAP, who is the Vice President of the Automotive Aftermarket Suppliers Association, AASA. Now, together, these associations own AAPEX, and they work hand in glove to create this yearly extraordinary event. This episode is brought to you by Federal Mogul Motor Parts and Garage Gurus for serious technical training and support online, on-site, and on demand. Garage Gurus is everything you need to know when it comes to training. Find out more at fmgaragegurus.com. Hey, I'm giving away some podcast collector swag, and you can get some. Just listen to this episode to get the December 2018 password, and then go to remarkableresults.biz/swag and enter. You're up for a collector's coffee mug and super nice mouse pad. The drawing will be held the first week of January 2019, and in just a bit, I'll tell you the password. Hey, don't forget to check our photos page with pics from AAPEX 2018 in case you missed the event. Check out all Carmcasts we do live on Facebook and learn tons of things. Look for the Carmcast page on the website. And, oh yes, visit the books page to find the books that your peers are reading. The Auto Care Association and the Automotive Aftermarket Suppliers Association, AASA, are valued partners working together to meet the needs of the industry and stay ahead of the curve. They co-own AAPEX, where the global automotive aftermarket gathers to learn and find the next opportunity in this $740 billion industry. Mark and Chris and their teams, under the leadership of Bill Hanvey from Auto Care and Bill Long from AASA, bring educational sessions, networking events, and live demonstrations to help you grow your aftermarket business. There are more and more service professionals appreciating the value of the expo and the access to training that AAPEX is focusing on. Chris and Mark know that the service professional is the most important part of the food chain, which is why the focus at AAPEX is training on tech trends and management. Where else could you meet a manufacturer or supplier executive and ask them for help or offer up a suggestion? One of their observations, they say, is they're seeing more and more technology showing up in the AAPEX booths. Now find Chris Gardner and Mark Bogdansky's bios, links to their previous episodes, and the episode's talking points at remarkableresults.biz/E385. Enjoy a dose of your smart daily supplement, only here at Remarkable Results Radio. Enjoy a behind-the-scenes look at AAPEX 2018. Carm Capriato back here in another AAPEX interview in my beautiful podcast studio, and there's a guy here to my right, totally responsible for pulling this off for me. Thank you very much, Mark. Mark Bogdansky, Senior Director, Meetings and Events for Auto Care.
Thank you, Carm.
And we have Chris Gardner, MAAP. God, I want to get my master's someday, Chris. I'm jealous. I have my AAP. Chris is Vice President, Programs and Member Services for Automotive Aftermarket Suppliers Association, and both associations, AASA and Auto Care, own this show and run it. So can I ask a crazy question? Are you like co-workers here? I mean, does all the weight of pulling on a great conference land on your shoulders?
I think essentially, we're as much co-workers as we are with the folks we work with in our own associations, I'd say.
That's a great point. We work together closely. We have no choice, but AAPEX is such a huge part of the industry and to this responsible for the success of our individual associations, that it becomes as important sometimes, if not more important than, sometimes what we do for individual members and for our own associations. So because of that, we have no choice but to partner and work well together.
So it's a blur. I mean, it really blurs into one.
And it does.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes it creates some interesting strategic alliances sometimes, because you have to keep in mind what's important for AAPEX compared to what's important for your association compared to what's important for the other association, and kind of, there's some internal struggles sometimes, making sure that what is best for your association may or may not be what's best for AAPEX, and figuring out how to play that game and straddle that line. And I think we both face that, on a regular basis. So
absolutely. To add to that, our teams work well together. I mean, partially because of Mark and myself and our teams. It's also because of our leaders absolutely mandate that we create a culture of working together and making the success of AAPEX the priority.
I think we actually saw that this morning on the keynote. I was saying to both, we say Bill and Bill. We're so used to saying Bill and Bill, but Bill Hanvey and Bill Long are so comfortable working together that it makes it much easier for the rest of us to work together. So it kind of goes from the top down for that. So.
Mm-hmm. I so badly wanted to have Bill Long and Bill Hanvey back in the studio this year, but we couldn't work the schedules out. But last year, for my audience, please go back and listen to Bill and Bill. It was a great interview and a great launch for my first podcast back in 2017. Guys, it's a phenomenal event. I feel a really strong buzz. When I heard the dialogue this morning, just before the keynote, Bill and Bill really kind of summed up that they care so much about the service professional being here and the programs that are aligned for them.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's the guys who are throwing away the box that matter the most. None of us are here without them. And so it's the end user that dictates everything else for us. And the whole supply chain moves upwards. And it's the guys who are the end users that dictate to the distributors and to the jobbers what they want, dictate to the manufacturers how it's all going to work. So,
Chris, you're from the supplier side.
Yeah.
They can't do it without the service professional. How are the suppliers embracing the mobility park and the improved dialogue that's going on and training for the service professional?
With open arms. And they're embracing it because they do recognize the importance of the shops, both in educating the shops and technicians on how to service new technologies, new technology-enabled vehicles. There weren't always thousands and thousands of repair professionals at AAPEX. We've done a lot of work to get them to come to provide education and trainings and demonstrations, so they'll be here. The suppliers did not traditionally create their experiences, their booths, their demonstrations for techs. They were more for their distributor customers. But that's changed a lot because they do recognize how important it is that the shops and the technicians sell their brands, order the right parts, service the cars well, and learn how to deal with these new technologies.
That's so important. Now, I can't help but mention the fact that when you say I'm going to Las Vegas for Automotive Week, and people always say, are you going to SEMA? And I say, no, I'm going to AAPEX.
Thank you, Carm.
And trust me, and it bothers the heck out of me. I was on an airplane direct flight from Buffalo here, and everybody was going to SEMA.
I bet you could tell on that plane who's going to SEMA and who's going to AAPEX.
By the way they were dressed?
I'm saying, you could tell who's going to AAPEX and who's going to SEMA, I bet you.
Picked them right out.
Yes, exactly.
So the reason that I bring that up is, do you get any residuals because SEMA's, down at the convention center? Do people come over here and say, hey, listen, I'm in this industry. There's this whole professional side, the training and talking to executives and seeing the newest parts.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually work very closely with SEMA, and it's similar to how our two associations work closely together. We actually collectively work very closely with SEMA on the whole week and making sure that the week is productive for everybody. And we work hard to make sure that we know a lot of the folks are coming to SEMA, but we want to make sure they know to come to AAPEX and see what we have. And we've grown our underhood training programs, and we've grown a lot of the programs for the service professionals and the end users so that they have a reason to come over here and learn more about what we're doing and the business we're doing over here. We know SEMA's a car show, and they want to go over here, and they want to go over there, and they want to see what's going on. But there's a lot of really great things over here, and I think over the last few years, we're seeing more and more of them come over here. More of them are making time to make sure they get over here. And it's important that they continue to do that because there's a lot of training that's going on here for them, and there's a lot of business that goes on for them here so that they can be better informed about what they're going to do for their business back home.
So when you're getting together and talking about really making an improved experience for the service professional, are you guys collaborating together, or have you just basically said, listen, Auto Care, you handle that side?
No, it's always a collaboration.
It's collaboration.
Everything's
good,
collaboration.
Good to hear. Okay, great, because we can't do it without the suppliers.
One of the great things I will say about Chris and AASA is, yes, they represent the suppliers, but the industry knowledge in general that Chris brings is not just the supplier side. It's an overall 360 industry knowledge. So, we work well together because he has a complete industry knowledge. So it's not just taking the supplier side of everything. It's, okay, so he understands what the supplier attitude may be about something, but also understands what the distributor opinion is going to be, the garage opinion is going to be, and so forth. So it works out really nicely. It's not just saying, well, the suppliers want this, this, and this, and that's really all he cares about, or AASA cares about. AASA is very concerned about the overall global supply chain, as is Auto Care, obviously.
Have you learned anything from him?
More than I could begin to explain in a 20-minute podcast.
That's only the result of being my age and being in the industry for so long. That's it. No, but Mark, it's well said. I mean,
have you learned anything from an event plan?
Oh, absolutely. Mark, when he came on board 2 years ago, he brought so many new ideas about what other shows were doing successfully, and some that, things that didn't work have brought to AAPEX. So it's been great.
So name one thing which was a seed of one of your ideas for AAPEX.
I would say the way that we've really expanded on our keynote sessions.
Okay.
In the past, the AAPEX town halls and the AAPEX keynotes were a little bit, I would say, not quite as elaborate as they are now, not quite as grand. They were in the middle of the week instead of kicking off AAPEX. We didn't necessarily have Bill and Bill up there kind of kicking off AAPEX and giving that state of the automotive industry and the aftermarket. And one of the things we wanted to do was say, look, AAPEX is the aftermarket week, and we want the two leaders of this industry getting up there and kicking off the week Tuesday morning before the hall opens, and showing how we are as an industry, how big we are, saying where we are, what's important to us as an industry, and kicking it off from there. And I would say that was probably, at least in the last couple of years, the thing I'm most proud of right now as far as what we've done in the last couple of years.
I would add to what Mark said that what he's helped bring is that keynote session that kicks off AAPEX. It has a true big event feel.
Oh, yeah.
And we are competing for the attention of exhibitors and buyers and a lot of other people, and we're competing against other shows. We're competing for the time for the media. Right. And what has happened with our keynote session is it is a big deal. It's a big event feel, and you have to be there. If you're not there, it's actually noticed because it's such a big event. So thank you, Mark.
How big? With 1,000 people? I mean, tell me how many.
Just under 1,000 people.
Just under. It was spectacular. Yeah. I loved it. In fact, I couldn't believe the rock music that I was hearing. In fact, I sat near one of the speakers. I couldn't even hear myself eat breakfast. But it was fun. It was vibrant, and I thought
it's a great way to kick off the week.
The multimedia piece and how you did it. Of course, you had two really good speakers.
Well, it's easy when you have a really interesting midterm election next week. It kind of. It gave us a really easy topic right away. Yes, we were trying to figure out what to talk about.
John King and Carl Rowe. They were both, I think, on different sides of the aisle, possibly, in their approach to the midterms. But it was eye-opening. And you know what? Frankly, I had my doubts as to what I was going to hear. But when it was done, I really felt good about it.
The most important message that I think I took out of it, that I hope the people who were sitting in the breakfast took out of it, and that I would say for everybody listening to this to take out of it, is you have to get involved. Please get involved.
Yeah, that was a message.
And every single person listening to this podcast, if you are working in a shop, if you own a shop, get involved. Invite your local congressman to your shop to learn about what your business is, learn how important your business is. It is absolutely crucial. They want to learn about your business, and that is the one message they both had consistently. The one question everybody has is, how do we get politicians to listen to us? And how do we get them to pay attention to the aftermarket and our issues, no matter what the issue is? And they both said, so like you said, almost both sides of the aisle, they both said you got to make sure you're getting involved. And, it's great that the associations take some leadership roles in that, but they want to hear from the individuals over and over again.
I was impressed with that message. Your congressman, your senator wants to hear from you. I never thought they cared about what I said. But when you started to hear it from the senator from Nevada and you started to hear the stories about that level of involvement, it really changed me after I've been around the horn a bunch of years now. And I guess that's a strong message. By the way, we're not done facing the challenges that exist inside of our industry.
I think we're just starting. I think we're just starting.
Yeah. And you know, you're right. And it's going to get worse. And if we don't sit with one collective voice...
And you know, honestly, Karl Rove's been inside the White House. He's been inside those Senate offices. He's been inside the congressional offices. He knows what they want. He knows what the politicians want to hear. And if he's telling you, you know, they want to hear from you, they want to hear from you.
And it's not as difficult as one might think. There are so many ways to get involved. And that's part of what the message was today. You can write, you can call, you can email, you can invite people to come visit. You can go to a local fundraiser. There's so many ways to get involved, and it's not that difficult or doesn't take that much time.
It's a great point.
I'm talking with Jonathan Giachelli, a technical product specialist with Federal Mogul Motor Parts. So, Jonathan, how does a service professional get the Guru on the Go van to their shop?
There's a couple ways. We do what we call cold calls, where we go around and just visit shops based on geographics. And there's also times where we team up with outside sales reps from other parts distributors and visit the shops on that basis.
So I love this. You pull into a shop on a cold call, they see the van, and they're probably excited to see you.
Yeah. I've had a couple shops where they've actually have already heard of the Gurus via Facebook or social media. So when I show up, they've already been signed up and taken online classes, and now that the van's there, it's really easy to book a lunch and learn.
So you're really an extension of the Garage Guru training centers.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're all done with your lunch and learn. You spend 45 minutes to an hour. Probably that's all you can really get from a busy, busy shop. What are the technicians saying about your shop visit?
Oh, they love it. They thank me, you know, every second I'm walking out the door and just can't wait for me to come back again.
Federal Mogul Motor Parts' Garage Gurus is your go-to source for the vehicle training, technology, and answers you need to keep your next job on track. On site, online, or on demand, the Gurus are here to help keep your business and your career on the road to success. Visit fmgarageguru.com. Hey, just stopping for a moment to tell you that the December 2018 password for podcast swag is wisdom. Just go to remarkableresults.biz/swag and enter the password wisdom and get in line for a chance to grab some really cool podcast swag. Hey guys, so you guys are really, as you said tongue-in-cheek earlier, leading this immense logistical challenge. It blows me away. 550,000 square feet. What can you tell our audience about some behind-the-scenes challenges that exist to pull this thing off?
To me, the biggest challenge is finding that next thing.
Like Mobility Park.
Yes. And that's how we came up with Mobility Garage this year. So it was Mobility Park when it was outside. The logistical challenge this year was we lost our outdoor space. So we had to bring it inside, and it became Mobility Garage. Finding that next thing. So Mobility Garage, where we're doing our underhood training, where we're doing training on alternative vehicles and alternative fuel vehicles, hybrids, electric cars, hydrogen-powered vehicles. We feel it's really important that technicians start learning on these vehicles, because if you can't work on a hybrid car, if you can't work on an electric vehicle car, if you can't work on some of these cars, you're going to be out of business soon. And we want to make sure that, people aren't just going back to the dealers to work on these cars. We want them going to their local garages working on these cars.
Chris, I have an observation. He's an outsider. He's been in auto care for 2 years.
He's learned a lot.
He sounds like an expert.
And actually, I think one of the challenges is, Carm, to take that a step further, that Mark's obviously learning how to do real quickly. And that is, the challenge with a trade show is you have to combine different objectives and goals. We have to take what the industry direction is and what the challenges are and who the stakeholders and constituents are and what it takes to logistically put on a show, and then what types of education and training is required, and meld all that together to create a product, to create an event. As Mark's learned real quickly, and he knew in previous jobs, you can't just put on a show any neutral type of show that would work for anybody. You have to understand the industry you're in and what the challenges are and who the players are and which the technologies and the trends and all that, to be able to stay ahead of the curve, to be able to deliver what they need to work on vehicles, all this. Obviously, Mark's done a great job of that.
And the one thing I do want to say is Chris and I might be sitting here as the voices of the people who put on the show.
We got a huge team.
It takes a cast of, when I say hundreds, I mean literally hundreds of people putting on the show.
That's both internal staffs and external.
Exactly. Internal, external. Then when you get here, the numbers of people that are working on the show, to turn over the building into the show and everything else.
And you watch it all come together. Do you think you nailed it this year?
I don't think you could ever nail it. But I tell you what, every year, my personal opinion, this is my 21st AAPEX, it's gotten better every single year.
I would agree with that 100%. I don't think you ever completely nail it. The idea is to get better every year.
Your goal is to get as close to nailing it as you can.
Well, sure.
And then, are you walking around here, Chris?
Chris
Yes.
is walking around getting handshakes and grabbed by every single person around here. Chris walks around here like a celebrity, let me tell you.
That wasn't what I was going to ask.
What I'm going to try to guess your question.
All right.
Because as soon as we are off this, Mark and I are literally walking around the floor to look for next year and the next year after that. Is that your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So literally, it's scheduled for 2 o'clock. I'm not joking.
It's scheduled for 2 o'clock to walk around and say, I like that, I don't. Ooh, this could work next year. We can move this
exactly.
Year.
I think to Chris's point, it's not just next year. So what are we in 2018, right? So it's 19. We're already thinking 20, 21.
Right.
We're thinking this is a 12, 14, 16, even 24-month process right now.
How much input from the members of the association are you getting to help you forge to next year?
We both have show committees. Both associations independently have show committees that we get a lot of feedback from. Right. And then we kind of each take that and we share the information that we've each gotten with each other, and then we kind of figure out what direction we want to go from there. And we've gotten some great feedback from our show committee. AASA has obviously gotten some great feedback from theirs, and we, some ideas are great, some ideas are not so great, and that's kind of our job to figure out what we want to go with and what we don't.
We also collect information from board members.
Yep.
We also visit other international global trade shows.
Yep.
We collect data from a lot of different areas.
We also have a survey that we have a great return rate on our survey. We do an attendee survey. We do an exhibitor survey.
We're talking about hundreds of responses to the survey. Thousands of
responses to the survey. So we get great responses from there. We get great ideas from there. We try to tweak what we can, from things that we've heard.
Have you walked the show floor yet?
Yes.
Okay. What trends are you seeing from the exhibitors?
So I walked the floor 2 years ago when I had just accepted the job at AutoCare, knowing absolutely nothing about this industry. The difference between 2 years ago and now is how much technology is in every single booth on the floor now compared to 2 years ago. This is rapidly becoming a technology show. There are every single booth in some way, shape, or form has technology in their booth, where I don't think that was the case 2 years ago.
It's just like CES is becoming more of an automotive show.
Kind of, sort of.
Whatever.
To some extent.
You and I talked about that on our podcast.
We did.
Yeah.
I would agree technology is the biggest change over the last several years, but it's coming in 3 areas. One is technology used to market products, so not actually in the part, but just marketing them and whatever. Another is technology and digitization of supply chain and processes and data and cataloging and ordering and all this. And then third is we're starting to see, and that is technology or digitization of actual parts and products. Yeah. And that's what we're just starting to see some of that.
Explain digitization to me.
So applying sensors to parts, being able to have software integrate with parts. Smart parts. Writing to, reading from, systems that are improved or enhanced by software downloads, all these things. That's just starting.
And I think as you see more about ADAS and everything, that's really
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's what's
a lot of ADAS this year.
Yeah, a lot of ADAS as you're walking around the floor. A lot of it is focused on ADAS, and I don't think it's a coincidence that, as ADAS is starting to really hit the aftermarket, you're starting to see a lot of the suppliers on the floor focus on that at this show.
Absolutely. We have a lot of educational content on ADAS this year. It is probably second, third, or fourth most important issue facing our industry. Access to vehicle data is one. Recruiting new talent to the industry is one. But for the independent repair community to be able to service cars that are equipped with ADAS going forward is a huge challenge and a huge opportunity for those who figure it out.
Absolutely.
I'm going to interview Joe Register tomorrow. We're going to talk about SVI, Secure Vehicle Interface. It's above my pay grade right now, but I spent some time speaking to Joe about it, and I said, I so badly want to do this interview, Joe. I'm telling you a little behind the scenes. Yeah. So he decided to tell me from his perspective what I should know so that I could do the interview with him. And his final comments to me, and I got to get him to say it in my interview tomorrow, he said, Carm, if people don't pay attention to ADAS today, they won't have a clue what secure vehicle interfaces mean.
Right. But the one thing also that I will say is if you're not paying attention to data access and SVI, you won't have a business in 5 or 10 years.
And that's the truth.
So it all comes together. It's ADAS, it's SVI, it's data access, it's all of it. And it is absolutely paramount. And it really does go back to that service professional and the independent repair shop, how vital it is that they are paying attention to this. Because if you don't, you are not going to have you're not going to be able to stay in business because, unfortunately, people are not going to be able to come to you to work on your car anymore.
He's learned a lot, Chris.
I'm telling you. It's impressive.
I so love it. You're speaking my language here.
From the podcast, I would say, actually. I love it. I download it every week. I love it.
All right, baby. I love you. Here's your $10 bill.
That tells me he's learning from you.
That's what I'm saying.
And your guests.
And his guests.
He's learning from these incredible
I've pulled speakers, actually, from his guests.
Nice.
I have. We've pulled speakers from his guests.
I know. That's great. So, in our final words, we'll promote this maybe next year, next August, maybe next June to entice the service professional to get their butts here at AAPEX. What are you going to tell them?
I'm hoping to see an expanded mobility garage next year that has more shop equipment, shop technology, that has an expanded underhood training for them, where they can really get in under the hood and also under the car. One of the things that we've done underhood now for 2 years in a row, one of the things that some of the suppliers have asked us is, okay, it's great you're doing underhood. How about we get a lift and get under the car to do some training? So we're starting to get suppliers come on us saying, hey, we want to get involved also, but we got parts and services that we can't do underhood, we do under the car. I'd love to see us expand to do that, really be able to expand that service professional training that we're doing all week long. And again, I really, the ADAS, the alternative fuel, I think it's absolutely critical that we are working on hybrid cars, on electric cars. For example, Tesla cannot handle the volume that they need, and very soon they're going to wind up saying, okay, you don't have to take your Tesla back to the dealers anymore. You can take it to an independent shop, but we need the independent shops to know how to work on them. And that's why we have training on Teslas going on here. And the guys who are teaching the Tesla dealerships here, the guys who are training the Tesla dealerships are here ready to train the independent service shops about how to work on Teslas.
That's good news.
For that reason. Wow. Because they know what's coming. And we want our service repair shops to be ready to do that. So for me, I want to see an expanded mobility garage next year so that our independent service repair shops have something to work on.
So I would say number one is AAPEX is going to do everything it can with a lot of what Mark just said is to help make this happen, and that is to get more repair shops and technicians to AAPEX. We recognize how difficult it is to leave their shop to get here. But we're creating, between the Mobility Garage and all the demonstrations and the educational sessions, is content that they cannot do without. So we have plans for several years out to increase and expand all of that to make sure that there is a return on their investment for taking time to be here. The second thing I would say is, for all levels of the supply chain, we have a lot of content in our educational sessions that look at all those things Mark just mentioned, but look at when they're going to happen and how many cars are going to be impacted and how much of the car park is going to be electrified and so on. We have numerous sessions where different people, different experts and market research firms that are looking at that and can help people who come to AAPEX understand when they're going to be impacted by these things. All of that has got to figure into a company's business plans. They've got to know when to invest in training, equipment, and they have got to be able to fit their repair shops to be able to handle these cars. So,
it's not just about the training. We brought in RLO this year, who have done a fantastic job of actually doing some business management for us for the shops. And RLO is well known.
Yep.
And I know you've had Vic on several times.
Sure.
And he's come in, and Vic and Dan have come in, and they've put together a fantastic program for our shops for business management. So it makes sense to come here and learn about, how to recruit good talent, how to keep good talent, how to invest in your shop, how to, those kind of things. So it's not just about getting under the hood, and it's not just about training on a vehicle, but it's also about building your business.
And Barry Barrett, I believe, is here probably working with them too. He's the director of training. Well, look at great summary. However, we're in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is kind of a fun city. There are so many gorgeous hotels. Are we?
We wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't know. Right. And, maybe that's part of the draw, guys, is that not only can they handle 50,000 just being at AAPEX, but there's restaurants, there's now hockey here and football here. I mean, this town is becoming more vibrant than ever. I mean, so I guess it's a destination, a learning destination. And every year it's going to get bigger and better, and the service professional will probably continue to eclipse any idea of the numbers that you ever anticipated.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts that the show is in Vegas.
No, it doesn't. Now, obviously, we have to compete and make sure they're here. They come to the show.
Yeah.
But
when they're here after a day of training,
and I would say
see a show, eat a great dinner.
Sure.
And honestly, I would say, plan on spending Friday at SEMA. We're not open on Friday. They're open. Spend Wednesday and Thursday here, get some training, go over to SEMA on Friday.
Great advice.
Love it. Thank you, Chris Gardner from AASA and Mark Bogdansky from AutoCare.
Thank you,
Carm. Thank you. This is a lot of fun.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Hey, thank you, Chris Gardner and Mark Bogdansky, for the success of AAPEX 2018. Your associations indeed provide our aftermarket something to look forward to every year. This episode's key talking points can be found at remarkableresults.biz/E385. Hey, a new page on the website allows you to watch Carmcast every week. Yes, a new weekly live show where I just may share some sage wisdom of my own to commandeer all ships to their desired location. Enjoy the day. Talk soon.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.